Welcome back to CFB Nation. I am your host, Nino Brown. And again, I'm joined with my guy, Mr. None Other than D Now, a.k.a. Mr. Get It Done, a.k.a. the Senator of college football. And when you see us on the screen, it's Devy time. D Now, long time no see. How you doing?
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm glad to be back. Again, just another guy that you're plucking and showing me some interesting tape about it. Like I said before the show, a guy that I honestly hadn't even heard much about prior to you bringing him up. So I'm excited to talk about him though.
Yeah, I think this week and next week are going to be some guys that maybe not a lot of people kind of heard about, but kind of have an opportunity to take over their room. And from what I saw on a small sample size, I think what you saw as well, he could be something. So we're going to hop right into it. It's going to be this Devy episode. It's going to be about Viron Ellson Jr., Tulsa running back, 5'11". He came into college at 180. He's currently at 195, and I like that a lot because in one season he put on 15 pounds of muscle. You can see it in his build, the way he runs and stuff. So I really like that. A kid that can stack on. Again, he was only a freshman last season. Probably can add on a little bit more in this offseason as well. I like to see what he weighs in after the spring. If he's at the 202 mark or just over 200 pounds, we're cooking here. We're cooking. You know what I mean? You're almost at 6 feet. You can play both roles. You could be that dual threat back. You could be that bruiser type guy. So I'm interested to see how it continues this year. But former 3-star recruit, the services kind of were low on him. He was the RB 113 in this class out of Louisville High School in Texas, and we all know how it is to be a Texas football player. Mm-hmm. Don't matter whether it's 4A, 5A, 6A, 7A. They're all talented. Two-sport athlete, track and field and football. Dino, you're our resident, track and field guy. 43.7, 42.6 triple jump. What are we talking here?
I'm gonna assume that's really good. I don't know much about triple jump myself, but anything 43, I'm assuming that's really good.
So. All right. I mean, I probably couldn't even get 35. You know what I'm saying? So, like, to me, that's super athletic. He was a two-way player in high school, played both running back and safety. I mean, and he was a driving force of his team that was 31-7 through his high school career. Now, granted, as we plucking through these little gems and these guys that we're looking for, this guy's got some football pedigree in his family. I watched Patrick Creighton, at the NFL, and he was a special teamer, kind of like, Devontae Turpin, right? Who was a special teamer that kind of just earned his way into getting some wide receiver reps. And when he was on the field, man, that dude performed, played out of the slot, kind of burnt some guys downfield. Then he went to the Chargers, played a little bit there, and then kind of, disappeared. But so he's got that talent. He knows how, he's got that guy that he can talk to about getting to the next level, what he's got to do, what's the route to go. So I like that. Just a little tidbit about him that he has that in his family. Talk to me about, his time at Louisville,
Yeah. So at Louisville, sophomore year, 88 attempts, 577 yards, 6 touchdowns. He had 2 100-yard games, 11 receptions, 116 yards. Junior year became RB1 for him, 244 attempts, 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns, 7 100-yard games. Then he had 13 receptions, 109 yards. Senior year, 136 attempts, just under 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns. He had 8 100-yard games, and then 11 receptions, 222 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And I'm going to throw this in. Watching some of his high school highlights, I thought he could have made a case even to be a wide receiver at the next level because the way he was getting up and he was head tapping all these kids on his tapes. I mean, he could have honestly made a play for that position as well.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been like a slot guy. He's got that. I kind of we'll get to him a little bit. He's got the twitch, but it's not like overly twitchy, but enough twitch to win because he kind of has that size to him. But a lot of his things that we'll get to when it comes to attributes all playing to where he could have been in that wide receiver role, kind of like a Tracy, right? Gentleman that went to the Giants, right? Was a wide receiver for 3 years, then converted to running back, and was just a dude. He could go, but that's what I think is so good. Why I think his talent and what he brings to the table, being that dual threat running back at the next level, they're all looking for that. You know what I mean? They want that bruiser guy, but they want that guy that can be a change of pace guy, the guy that can catch the ball in the backfield. And we'll get into it, his 1 year at Tulsa, man, he made a case to be on the field for every down. This dude can play every single down. They weren't, I wouldn't say throwing the office at him, but the guy had, I think somewhere between 15 to 20 offers, right? Sam
Mhm.
Houston, State, Jackson State, Toledo, Cal, Tulsa, uh, Missouri, Texas A, BYU, and there was more. But I mean, he ultimately ended up committing to Tulsa. He enrolled early. He got in there, got in camp, and got work. It sucks because we talked about it in the green room. They were god awful. They were just 3-6. They had a chance to kind of be bowl eligible. They had to win it outright, but like there was games that they were losing to teams that I don't think they should have been losing to, and they weren't just losing; they were getting blown out. So it worked in his favor, kind of, because he got some more opportunities late in games. But I think he's going to get more time now. I think the opportunity is there for him. Um, what I see now, like just from the high school tape to the small sample size that I've seen, this year at Tulsa, patience, right? The kid's got good vision. He's not in a rush to just go. He waits for his blocks to set up, and then he just hits that hole with good burst. Like I said, he's not gonna blow right by you, but he has enough speed to carry by and start to pull away slowly. He hits the hole. He can win at the edge. Like I said, there's not that crazy, but he can win at the edge, and he can run between the tackles. Right, like I love his contact balance. He's got good pad level. I mentioned already. He's a three down back. He's a chain mover. Right, put him in there at 3rd and long, 3rd and 3. He can get the job done. He's not extremely switchy, is what I wrote on the doc, but he's got shake and bake. You know what I mean? Like there's some guys that you're like, oh, I didn't think he had that in him. That's what I look at him like. The way he runs, kind of a little more upright, and he's kind of square, but then he gets you with a little sauce to him, and he's end up get some separation. Great hands. I mean, we've seen that from high school all the way to his first year at Tulsa. And I'm going to tell you this. This is why I say he's a 3 down back. His pass blocking skills jumped off the screen to me. And even this year at Tulsa, 1 pressure and 45 plus pass blocking attempts. And I'm with it. I think that's going to be another thing that's going to get this kid on the field because, he's going to protect his quarterback. Talk to me about, year one, what he did at Tulsa and kind of why. There's a couple things on it that just stick out to me why I think he has an opportunity to just take off.
Yeah, so Tulsa, he had 62 attempts for 353 yards and a touchdown. He also had 18 targets, 15 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown. He had 5.7 yards per carry. Of his 353 yards, 258 of that was yak.
Yeah.
He had 13 missed tackles, forced 13 runs of 10 plus yards, 22 first downs, 0 penalties committed, which is insane for a freshman.
Right.
PFF grade had him at 78.3 for offense, and then the rush grade was 82.3. And then he had 5 games of 7 attempts with 5.4 yards per carry and a touchdown.
So when he was given the time to kind of be the dude, right, carry, getting a rhythm. Who's going to get in a rhythm with 3 to 4 carries a game? It's hard. You see some of these backs that need to get 7 carries off the first drive, right? And then, all right, now we're in motion. So when he was given 5 plus, 7 plus attempts, the dude was just ripping off yards. I see it against Oklahoma State. He had like 7 for 63 yards, right? Like didn't score up, but he was eating. Against USF, I think it was 6 for like 40 something. So the dude was just putting in yardage when given the opportunity. And I think the opportunity is kind of knocking now because the guy in front of him is gone, right? He graduated. The number 2 back, he graduated. It's Cam Crooks, who has 2 attempts for 47 yards. You're looking at a walk-on junior, Jace Morgan, who was, at Gainesville High School was, pretty good, 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns. But it's been 2 years and he hasn't been able to kind of get on the field at all. Now they got in 2 guys through the transfer portal with some experience. And they bring in Ricky Hunt Jr., the Ohio transfer, which I was big on. He had that bowl game, 3 touchdowns. I thought he was going to do something, and he just couldn't crack. The RB1 in Ohio, the other gentleman just took off for them and he never, looked back. So he hit the portal. But the guy that I'm kind of worried that could kind of give him a little bit push here for the RB1 role, being the veteran guy in this running back room, being the guy probably with the most, experience, not last year, but overall, his 3 years at Kansas, is Sevion Morrison, right? 27 attempts, 164 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the year Devin Neal was hurt, I think he had almost 500 yards rushing and like 6 touchdowns. So we saw what he could do when given the role. He's kind of a bigger back, so maybe they can play the RB1, RB2 role, like, switch it up. But man, everything I see from this kid, we're going to get into these player comps here. This makes me think like if given this opportunity, if he has a really good spring, but I really think that this kid could get, say 55% to 45% with Sevion Morrison, be that RB1 role. If he can get 150 plus carries, I got to think he can be close to 1,000 yards, right? This is the way he's been, ripping him off. So when I look at it, and these aren't the juiciest names in the book, but when you watch their college tape, these guys were good. Now, this first guy, I think, would be the ceiling. He's a little bit small, but the way they play is very similar, right? I'm going to go with Devin Singletary, FAU, right? This guy put up gaudy-ass numbers in 3 seasons at FAU. From 714 attempts, so almost 4,300 yards, 66 touchdowns. But this dude had 51 receptions, almost 400 yards. Got himself to be a 3rd-round pick in the 2019 NFL Draft. Now, my floor guy, because we talked about how good of a receiver he was, Justice Hill was a hands to. Like, I think that's why I drew him to Baltimore. And through all the injuries, why they kept him, because he was that receiving back, because all they had was bruises on that team. I think he has that same style of play, right? From Oklahoma State, 632 attempts. He had 3,500 yards, 30 touchdowns. Another guy, 50 receptions, 300 yards. Got himself to be a 4th-round pick in the same draft, 2019. I think he's a mixture of both of these guys, and I think why these guys have had longevity at the NFL is because they are that back that they're kind of looking for. That key guy, the RB1, but the guy who maybe like Singletary could be RB1 for a year or two, maybe in a bridge or whatever it may be, but a guy that can play the RB2 role, be productive, be a 3rd down guy, be a pass threat for them, and have, 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 years of an NFL career. I think this kid's got it. And if he gets this opportunity this year, I don't think he looks back.
Yeah. I love, like we were talking about, Devin Singletary, and then Justice Hill, like you said, he worked his way up and showed he could be dependable, and that's why he's honestly still in the NFL.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like those comps. So this week I kind of mixed it up. I went 3 comps.
Okay.
No floor, no ceiling, none of that. Just solely off of the 2 how his game reminds me. And then the 3rd one where I see, like, I wish how they could use him.
Okay.
So my first one is Austin Eckler. Everyone knows his story. He kind of worked his way up, grinded the whole process, showed he's that RB1. Even when people wrote him off this season, he kind of helped Washington this year. So, but excellent hands, isn't afraid to run through the gap right there. Constant chain mover, Mr. Reliable at running back. So that's why I went with him. And then run style, I went with Darren McFadden, more of a bruiser, vertical runner.
Upright.
Yep. Again, not super twitchy, wasn't known for that. Would try to run you over if he could. So I kind of see that in his game. And then my X Factor comp, I'm going to throw in Deebo Samuel. I can see them kind of, like I said, I wouldn't be upset if they kind of try to use him some at the slot, motion him into the backfield, sort of orbit, all that stuff. And his frame just kind of screams Deebo Samuel to me. So those are my comps.
Yeah, I think the pass game capability that he brings is going to keep him on the field. It's going to be hard for him not to be on the field. Maybe they go with a 2-back set, like you said. They're going new QB. It seems as though it could be Kurt Francis, who has, a stronger arm, is more of a pocket quarterback compared to Legolas that was there last season.
Yep.
So we'll have to see. But I think we're going to be keeping a close eye on Tulsa Spring, because I think if this kid, is able to just edge out Hunt or Morrison, I think the sky's the limit for this kid, and I think this.
I think it's Morrison. I think he may have already surpassed Hunt, just off of, unless Hunt somehow shows us he's got that 24/7. If that bowl game wasn't kind of, I hate to say it, a fluke, but
I'm starting to think that might have been a flash in the pan type deal,
Yeah, so I think Morrison is really his only competition.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be upset if they went 50-50 to start the year and then see who was a better guy. But if he proves to be, all right, so Sevion Morrison is the guy for this year, and he stays, well, then, he's going to have more production this year, guaranteed no matter what.
Yep.
And then, hey, 2026 could be the year of Ron Ellson Jr., and maybe not 2025, but it's a guy that you might want to look into, a guy you might want to stash in your leagues, and a guy that in a year or two could be like, who is this guy? It's drafted who has close to 3,000 yards rushing all of a sudden, right? Nobody knew about him. Well, CFB Nation was talking about him. Nino Brown and Dino were talking about him on our show, Devy Dollins. This is CFB Nation. I'm Nino Brown. That's my guy, the senator of college football, and we out.